Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Matty here from Chill TCG. Today we're going to be taking a look at the top 16 deck lists from our 444 player Chill Series number 27 tournament. It was a great turnout. A lot of great players came out to play. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been playing in the Chill Series tournaments. It means a whole lot to me, and I hope you guys had a great time playing. Of course, here it is, Chill Series number 27. It was a fantastic tournament. Like I said, almost 450 players. And a lot of really cool deck lists to take a look at today. We're going to be covering every single deck list in the top 16. We did a top 8 cut. When we do top 8 cuts in our normal Chill Series tournaments, we'd cover the top 16 deck lists. If we have any other like special big events in the future where we kind of, do a bigger top cut, or maybe we do an entire day 2, then we cover perhaps the top 32 deck lists. But for today, just a normal Chill Series, so we're going to go ahead and just take a look at the top 16 deck lists. So you can see a lot of different lists here. It's going to be very fun to go through everything. I'm very, very excited. We're going to start off here with Take 2, 0218. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced. It's probably just Takato. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. But he got 16th. He's from Japan. He was playing ADP Zacian. So let's take a look at his ADP list here and see if we can't find anything significantly different with it. Right off the bat, though, a couple things that I do really like about it. Now, this is, of course, ADP, so I'm not going to go ahead and explain everything. But he is running a Mew here. He's running a Mew and a Duraludon, as well as an Oricorio GX. So those three Pokemon, to me, definitely stand out. They're a little bit different. I think that the Oricorio GX is actually pretty interesting. Typically, ADP lists run maybe 4 Zacians, 2 ADPs, and then they'll run like 2 or 3, mainly a lot of times 3 Dedennes with 1 Crobat. And that's the reason, or the reason for that is so they can dig through their deck quite a bit. Maybe even multiple Dedennes and multiple Crobats, but the Eldegoss V, pretty standard. The Duraludon is actually really cool. It's a good option when you're fighting against, against Decidueye. It's perhaps not as good of an option as just running Aegislash-V, but there are some upsides to it. It is a Stage 1 Pokemon, so it's a little bit less viable in other matchups to getting KO'd, right? So it's just a little bit safer of an option. It also has a retreat cost of 2, so Air Balloon does work with it, whereas Aegislash has a retreat cost of 3. The Mew is interesting. I do kind of like the Mew. When you're playing ADP, you do kind of want to populate your benches with those Dedenne GXs, those Crobat Vs. And a lot of times those are kind of susceptible to, what is it? Urshifu, Rapidstrike, Urshifu VMAX, that second attack, which can be very, very deadly. So, it does make a lot of sense. I do like Mew. It's also just really good when you're playing Welder decks and they're running Cram and they snipe your Dedenne, or just protecting anything that's on your bench, to be honest with you. Urshifu just likes to go ahead and spread that damage. So the Mew is pretty interesting. I do kind of like it. I wonder how useful it was for him. Now, the Oricorio GX is a little bit interesting now that I take a look at it. It's just kind of like another draw support card option. I don't know if it's better than running a third Dedenne. Maybe it is. You're not really getting KO'd a whole lot in this matchup. I mean, if you're playing an ADP Mirror, you're only getting KO'd twice, probably before they take their prize cards. And if not, you're only getting KO'd probably 3 times before, whatever opponent you're playing takes all 6 of their prize cards. So the Oricorio GX is kind of interesting, honestly. I'm interested to see. Maybe I'll test it out, but it does seem pretty interesting for sure. But that's kind of it for the Pokemon lineup. No Oranguru, nothing else in there too crazy. We got 4 Boss, 4 Research, 2 Marnie, pretty standard. 4 Metal Saucers, Quick Balls. You have 3 Energy Switch, and only 3 Switch cards, but we do have 1 Escape Rope in there. So electing to just go with 1 Escape Rope. I've seen 4 Escape Ropes in ADP. I've seen a 2-2 split. I've seen 3-2. All sorts of different mix-ups there, but I do think Escape Rope is really good in ADP. Only 2 Cherish Balls on top of the 4 Quick Balls. I kind of would like to see maybe more Pokemon search in the deck to make it a little bit more easy to find those Pokemon throughout the game, but you know what? It's probably not that hard to draw into these Pokemon anyway with all the draw support on top of that you have in this deck, so kind of got to keep that in mind. On top of that, though, we have 2 Reset Stamps in the deck, too, so ADP doesn't typically run Reset Stamp. It's just not something that it really cares too much about. It's not really meant to be a disruptive deck, but it can give you some comeback potential sometimes when ADP is a little bit slower than usual. Maybe that Reset Stamp could be pretty clutch. It's not something you typically see a whole lot, though. 1 Great Catcher on top of the 4 Boss. I do like that. Only 1 Energy Spinner, which is pretty interesting. And then we have 2 Air Balloons, 1 Vitality Band, and 1 Rusted Sword. Now, the Vitality Band is interesting because Rusted Sword kind of does that for you, where you can add that extra damage on his Zacian so you can KO those tag team Pokemon. It's just interesting that he put a Vitality Band on there. I guess when you're playing Desi, you can attach that to Duraludon. Maybe that could be a good option as well, but overall, I just think that Vitality Band is a bit interesting. With the ADP boost, Duraludon does, 140, and then 150 with the Vitality Band, so I guess 150 could be a bit better against Decidueye than just doing, of course, the 140, especially if they have Big Charm. But I don't even know if the math works out with that. But interesting, nonetheless, to see the Vitality Band in there. And then 2 Chaotic Swells, pretty standard stuff to be running in ADP. And then the 8-3 Metal and Water Energy. So here it is. This is the first ADP list. I always take so long to cover these like initial lists, but we're gonna go quicker throughout the rest of the video. I promise you. A big shout out to Takato. No, I'm sorry. I'm so bad at pronouncing stuff. Next up at number 15, we have Angel Miranda. I think is also how you pronounce that. At 15th from the US, he's running Rapidstrike Urshifu VMAX. We did have a handful of these in Top Cut. Let's see what his list is rocking with. So overall, pretty standard Rapidstrike Urshifu list. As we see right now, he is running the Jirachi Scoop Up Net engine. I do like the other Mew in here. It's good for the mirror matchup. It's good for a lot of matchups. I just think that Mew is a smart card to be thrown in pretty much any deck list these days. I do like the Giratina as well to get rid of those weakness card energies on Eturn, as well as just special energies in general, which are really popular right now in the format. One Mew just seems to be the best way to get supporters back from the discard pile if you are running the Jirachi, which he is, which I like that. And then we also have the Mimikyu as well, which just helps that much more with the Mewtwo matchup. However, we did see in the Grand Finals match, if you haven't seen it, that Mewtwo deck lists are now running Stealthy Hood, which is a very, very good card to be running in that Mewtwo deck. We got 4 Research, 3 Boss, 3 Marnie, and 1 Cheryl. Now, the 1 Cheryl is pretty interesting. I do think that it can be clutch in a lot of scenarios after you G-Max Rapid Flow. Your Urshifu, of course, is in jeopardy of getting hit by big damage while also not having any energies on it anymore, so maybe Cheryl is actually a really smart decision in the deck. I do like the 1 Cheryl. Might be a little bit hard to find, but you know what? We can discard it early and then get it back with Mewtwo when we need it. So I suppose it's not that bad of a deal just running a 1-of Cheryl. Could be really clutch in a lot of scenarios. And then we have 4 Pokecoms, 4 Quick Ball, all standard stuff, the 4 Scoop Up Nets, 3 Switch, 1 Escape Rope, and 2 Air Balloons. I think that's a good amount of switching cards for this deck. I think it's just overall, Urshifu likes to switch in and out. I think that the Scoop Up Nets, I think that the 4 Switch cards and the 2 Air Balloons is really going to help with that. And then 2 Martial Arts Dojo. It's just what people are running in Urshifu now. It's going to give you that extra damage potential. And I do really suggest running Dojo in this deck. It's probably the best stadium that you can be running. And then he's got 9 energies. He's got 5 basic fighting, and then 4 of the Rapid Strike double energies. All good stuff here. We also have the Dry TGX in the deck and a 4-3 lineup. 2 Dedenes, 1 Crobat, 1 Zigzagoon. All good stuff. I mean, this is a very standard Rapid Strike Urshifu list, but it's very good and has a lot of answers for a lot of things here. In the future, in the next upcoming Urshifu lists, we might see something a little bit different. I know Rahul was running Tool Scrapper and Karate Belt and maybe some other spice. We're not going to spoil that. But we're going to go ahead and move on. But this was a very interesting deck list. I do like this one a lot. Big shout out to Angel. I think Rapidstrike Urshifu might be the best deck in the format. Overall, it's just super consistent. At number 14, we have Caleb Rogerson, a fantastic player. Number 1 ranked on Dino Data right now, I believe. So a fantastic online player. He was playing Luke Metal, so we had a couple Luke Metals in top 16. This was the first one here. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Luke Metal, but this is, of course, the Tag Call engine Luke Metal, so no Pokegears here. We do have 1 Power Plant, which I find interesting, and I think that the 3 Metal Goggles and the 2 Toughness Capes is actually really good, because sometimes just having more HP with the Toughness Capes on your Zacian or your Zamazenta is the difference between you getting KO'd. A lot of times in Metal Goggles just isn't quite cutting it, at least for that first attack, right? So you got to think about the math. With Metal Goggles, it works every time you get attacked, of course, but it's only minus 30, whereas Toughness Cape adds 50, so potentially gives you more survivability after that first hit, which a lot of times is the difference. So I do think Cape of Toughness is pretty smart here. We have 2 Cynthia Caitlyn, 2 Malalana, 2 Guzmahala, all pretty standard stuff with the 4 Tag Call. 4 Zacian, 2 Luke Metal, 2 Zamazenta, again, standard stuff. 3 Luke Metals. We got 3 Coding in here, 10 Metal Energies, and 2 Capture Energies, which is pretty interesting, on top of the Power Plant. So a little bit of spice thrown in here. I think that the Capture Energies are kind of cool. Again, I don't know if it's entirely needed, but I think that the Power Plant is kind of clutch as well. Can help in a lot of matchups. I think Luke Metal's pretty well positioned. I think that it does have a good Urshifu matchup. It does well against those Mewtwo decks, so it's overall a good deck list. I think that it has a lot of potential right now, but I think that it does struggle a lot with the Welder matchups. And there are quite a bit of Welder decks still in the format, right? And if you're playing like a Mewtwo list, he might probably just be playing Welder anyway, so he can go that Reshizard route, which can be pretty difficult for you for sure. But nonetheless, it's Luke Metal. Shout out to Caleb. Excuse me. I just ate some burping. But a big shout out to Caleb. I really I appreciate him to play. He's a great player, so a really cool deck list as well. Congrats on getting 14th, my dude. Next up, at number 13, we have Sagas. 77. He's from Brazil, and he was playing Crycephalon. So this is actually the only Crycephalon that made top 16. I do think that this deck struggles a bit in a best of 1 format. I think it does shine in a best of 3 format. We've seen that in the past for sure, but everything here is super standard Crycephalon list. I'm not going to cover it too much. If you're interested in this list, I did make some videos on it like a week or 2 ago when it did win some of our bigger regional style events, as well as the Beach Tournament as well, which had a larger best of 3 top cut, which is probably a big reason why it did so well. But I do think that Crycephalon is a very strong list here. And if it made top cut, and it made it into that best of 3 bracket, it probably would have been a pretty dangerous thing to hit. But yeah, I mean, not too much to say about this. We've got the 2 Cram, 2 Cephalon, 2 Reshizard, 4 Jirachi, Scoop Up an Engine. He's got the Mew in here, which I think if you're running Cephalon now, you have to run Mew. I think it makes the deck that much more viable and really helps with the Urshifu matchup for sure. 1 Reset Stamp, kind of cool here. I mean, 4 Fire Crystal, 14 Energy, 4 Giant Hearth. Everything here is pretty standard. I don't really have too much to say about it, but I do think that it's a very strong deck list and a very good deck right now in our format still, and I think it'll be around for a very long time. So shout out to Sagas, man. Running Cephalon, our highest placing Cephalon in the entire tournament. Next up, at number 12, we have Lullabar from Canada. He was playing, of course, Desi. So this was our only Desi that made top 16, didn't make it into cut, but this is, of course, sort of the modern version of Desi that we did see win a few weeks ago in Chill Series, like number 24, I think it might have been. I honestly don't exactly remember, but this new version of straight Desi here does run like the Apom, which is cool, the Tapu Fini, which is kind of cool, and of course Mew, which is almost entirely needed in this deck. The 3 and the main difference when we're playing this new version of Desi is you'll see here he is running some tag calls for this these tag team supporters like Cynthia Caitlyn, Malawana, which is super clutch in a lot of matchups, and Guz Mahala. It's just a really good core of supporters here that are really useful for consistency reasons. And then on top of that, you'll see that he's running 3 big charms because a lot of times when you're playing Desi, like of course those big heavy hitting GX, VMAX Pokemon, they can't hit you, right? So a lot of times you're just dealing with smaller single prize attackers, which do less damage. So the big charm and the Malawanas, it kind of gives you that advantage when you're fighting other single prize Pokemon. And Desi has 140 HP, right? So the big charm kind of gets you out of range of a lot of times of getting hit for KOs, and we even have weakness guard energies in here as well, which you might think like, why does that matter? But a lot of times it helps you even deal with Volcanions pretty well, which is something that typically Desi has really struggled with. I think that this list is really cool. It's really good overall. I think it's consistent. I think that it's probably, maybe not this exact 60. I'm not sure. I don't play Desi a lot, but this version of Desi seems to be extremely useful. That Apom is super cool because in matchups, a lot of times it's like an auto win where you just kind of pass. Your opponent accumulates a super large hand, and then you just hit them with the yank out, and they discard a bunch of their cards. It's a really good way to, deck out your opponent if, of course, they don't have anything to hit you. So Apom is definitely a very useful card in the matchup. Kind of makes the matchup really skillful in a lot of ways. But you know what? I think that this Desi list is phenomenal. It's really consistent as well. And I don't really have too much else to say about it. I mean, I think I did make a video on this Desi list a little while back as well. So if you're interested, go check out that video. Yeah, I got nothing really else to say. I mean, Desi always does really well. It's definitely one of those decks that can surprise you. Didn't make it too far, but I did kind of suspect we would have at least one that did really well in the tournament. Number 11, we have Gabe Smart, who's been on an absolute tear recently. Again, one of the highest ranked people on Dino Data for this entire online community, this entire season right now. So Gabe Smart, a fantastic player. He's been playing ADB Hammers recently from the US. He got 11th at this 440 player tournament. And he was playing ADP Hammers. So, again, this list isn't going to be anything too crazy. We do see the Mawile in this list. That's not something we actually saw in the last ADP, which is interesting. But we see 4 Hammers in here with a bit of a sacrifice for a lot of the consistency cards. So we see 4 Boss, 4 Research, no Marnie in here. We see 3 Energy Switch instead of 4. We have 2 Escape Rope, 2 Switch. I think that's pretty smart. 2 Spinners, Great Catcher, 2 Air Balloons, Rusted Sword, and then just 1 Chaotic Swell with the 11 count energy, which is pretty standard. So you'll see it's kind of shrunk down a little bit. It's kind of a little bit more bare bones with the 4 hammers thrown in there, but this is a deck that's absolutely terrifying to play. If you're playing this ADP list, he gets that early GX attack off and he hits you with a couple hammers early game. It is almost impossible for you to win. I really mean that. Like, if this deck does exactly what it wants to do earlier in the game, you're not in a good position. Like, you're definitely not, you're going to struggle is all I'm saying. So this is a very, it's a very simple list in theory to play. It's not a very complicated list. You have the same route every game, so it's a little bit I don't want to say like mindless to play ADP, but of course it definitely it's not like a super in-depth play style. But if you do get lucky a little bit and you do draw it well and you hit those hammers, you're most likely going to win games. So I do understand why people are playing this list. But yeah, this is ADP Hammers. Shout out to Gabe. He's been killing it lately with this list, so maybe ADP Hammers is the move. Who knows? Next up, though, we have Zekro at number 10. He was from Italy, and he's playing Luke Metal. So this was our highest placing Luke Metal of the tournament. It's going to be... Okay, actually, so it's very similar to the last list that we saw. It is the, excuse me, the tag hall engine. There's a few things here that are a little bit different, and we do see the 1-1 lineup of Bronzor and Bronzong, which I actually find to be super interesting. I think that it can help in a lot of scenarios, but overall, it's just kind of an interesting thing to see in Luke Metal for sure. We do have the tag hall engine. Only 2 tag halls, though, in this list, and we do actually see this deck is running 2 power plants, no Cape of Toughness, but he is running 1 Tool Scrapper as well, which I find to be super interesting. Pokemon Search is a little bit low. We only have 2 Quick Balls, 2 Calms. I mean, we do have tag halls to find Luke Metal, but overall, I think that the 2 Quick Ball and the 2 Pokecoms is a little bit interesting, and we don't have Capture Energy in this list either. So a little bit lower on the energy count, a little bit higher on a few different, probably supporters. There's a lot of supporters in this list. Yeah, it's interesting. But it seems that Tag Call was sort of the dominant version of Luke Metal through this last tournament. Maybe it's just better like that. Again, that's kind of a heavily debated thing, whether Gears is better than Tag Call Engine Luke Metal. But you know what? I think that they're pretty equal, and a lot of times, especially in placements and results, we see them both pop up pretty often. But interesting to note that the only 2 that did make top 16 were the Tag Call engines, but none of them made top 8. But again, Luke Metal, like I said, it's a very well-positioned deck. This is pretty interesting. I think maybe throwing a Bronzong in your Luke Metal list could be interesting. So if you are playing Luke Metal, if you're a Luke Metal player, comment below. Let me know kind of what it's, do you think that it's kind of worth doing? I mean, are there any specific scenarios that you might come up with that Bronzong could be pretty clutch with? I think it could be cool. But overall, just pretty interesting for sure. So yeah, this was our highest placing Luke Metal of the tournament, Zekro, at number 10, I believe. So big shout out to Zekro, man. I love seeing people, kind of make it higher up in the tournament with a little bit different list, right? Just a little bit different. Next up at number 9, we have Xenoctus. I think is how you pronounce that. He is also from Italy, got 9th in the tournament, 11-3, and he was playing one of my favorite decks of all time, and that is Dragapult VMAX. Dragapult VMAX has kind of fallen off a bit, but you can see we had one here at 17th, just bubbled out top 16. We had one at 20, so it's honestly not a bad deck list. People just don't really give it as much credit. A lot of times you do see Mewtwo decks seeing play, and that makes sense. They're a little bit more successful, overall a little bit more heavy hitting, so I do think that Mewtwo might be the better option when you're playing a Psychic type deck, but I do think, that Dragapult is a very, very good deck, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at this list. I'm very, very excited. It looks like this is going to be the handlock version, the Greens Dragapult, which a lot of times people have been kind of playing here and there. It's a very interesting list because it runs a lot of one-of counts because, of course, there's things you can search out with Greens. And this wasn't actually the only Greens deck that saw success in this tournament, so it's interesting. Greens is a cool card. It definitely, makes things a little bit interesting in terms of its consistency value to the deck, and overall I just find it to be very, very interesting for sure. We got a 4-3 Dragapult lineup. We do just have one Omastar, and one Gengar and Mimikyu. You'll notice that we do just have one unidentified fossil, and we have one rare candy, so that's how you're going to get into Omastar. Just kind of funny to see that for sure. We have 4 greens, 4 research, 2 boss, 1 Yell Grunt. We even have a Phoebe in here and a Jesse James. 4 hammers, 1 fan of waves. The Pokegears is pretty viable. I think that makes sense to kind of find the supporters when you need it. 2 Evo Incense, 1 Quick Ball. It's just an absolutely hilarious list. Like when you're playing this game, you literally either have to start with that Gengar Mimikyu or a Dragapult, and you have a 4 out of 5 chance of starting with a Dragapult. So Pokemon Search probably isn't even that needed, to be honest with you. That's why he's running more Evolution Incense than Quick Ball here. It's just funny to see. And then the 2 reset stamps, 2 energy spinners. We have the 1 switch as well. Yeah, I mean, everything is just, it's just funny to look at this list, to be 100% honest with you. The 1 Tool Scrapper, we even have a Vitality Band thrown into this Dragapult list, 1 XP share. I think that the Power Plant's smart. I think if you're playing Dragapult, Power Plant's probably, especially greens, Power Plant is definitely a really good, viable option to play. I don't know if this is the best way to play Dragapult, but again, that Fossil Bind, ability by Omastar can be extremely powerful. In a lot of scenarios, as well as Gengar Mimikyu to kind of stall a little bit, and that can also be a really powerful attack to use, right? I mean, Poltergeist is a really good attack when your opponent cannot play item cards from their hand, so they kind of just start piling up in your opponent's hand, and you can do big damage with Gengar Mimikyu. I understand how this list can work, but on theory, you'd be like, it just seems a little bit complicated to play. It seems a little bit, I don't know, like convoluted in terms of its just approach, but it's actually a bit more consistent than people think it is, and it actually won a Hexter tournament a few weeks ago as well, so it has seen moderate success. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad deck list, it's just interesting to see for sure. I do like it a lot. I do like this list a lot. It's also kind of a difficult list. Like, if you're not able to really deal with that Omastar, you could struggle. There's a lot of deck lists that really do struggle when they don't have access to their They're item cards. Is it? I don't think it's trainer cards. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just. I think it's just item cards with the Omastar. But overall, interesting, right? Isn't this kind of cool? It's just funny to see this. Like in a 440 player tournament, we had Green's Dragapult make it pretty high up in here in top 16. Almost made top 8 as well. But I love to see it. I just love Dragapult. I think it's a very, very cool deck. And I think that Dragapult is a very powerful Pokemon as well, also having a good typing right now. So I'd love to see it. Love to see it. Z Noctis. Keep that one in mind, guys. Okay, next up we have Norman Price, as seen on the Fireman Sam TV show on the BBC. He got 8th in the tournament, so again, he made it into top 8. That's what we're getting into now. This dude is from Great Britain, and he was playing a Rapidstrike Urshifu VMAX. So let's take a look at his Rapidstrike list. This is the second highest placing Rapidstrike Urshifu list, and we're going to see if we can kind of find any distinctive differences with it. Most things pretty similar here. The Pokemon lineup is almost exactly as what we saw earlier, except he's not running Mimikyu in his list. He's running the Mew, Jirachi GX, Giratina. I think the last one that we saw wasn't actually even running Jirachi GX. He was just running Mimikyu, so maybe that's interesting. I could be wrong. I honestly forget. 4 Marnie, 4 Research, 3 Boss, all standard stuff. 4 Scoop Up Nets, yep. 4 Calm, 4 Quick Ball, yep. 1 Great Catcher, 1 Escape Rope on top of the 4 Switch I like. 1 Evo Incense, which is actually pretty interesting. Just because like the only evolution Pokemon that we're searching for are our VMAX Pokemon, but maybe just running that 1 Evo Incense to be a little bit more consistent to find our VMAX Pokemon could be smart. Going to be a little bit easier to find with that Jirachi Stellar Wish as well, so that's pretty interesting. Only 1 Air Balloon as well instead of 2, but in adding sort of an extra switching option, I think, with that Escape Rope. And then 2 Dojo, and then 9 Energy. So again, a lot of things pretty similar here. I did think the only difference here is kind of that he's not running Mimikyu. He is running Evo Incense. He's running 1 less Air Balloon. But overall, I think that this is a pretty solid list. I think Rapidstrike Urshifu, you know, the 60 has been almost, you know, the skeleton for the deck has been almost kind of figured out for the most part. I think that people are kind of understanding that Scoop Up Net Jirachi is the best way to play it. Martial Arts Dojo is really good. And I think that running Giratina, Jirachi GX, Mew, all those things are really good in the deck list as well. I do like the Great Catcher in the list too, because, you know, those Dedenes are really enticing when you're playing Urshifu VMAX. So I do like the Great Catcher as well. So yeah, it's definitely a good deck list. I mean, I don't know what else to say. If I had to name a deck that I think is probably the most viable, just the overall most consistent, best deck list right now in the standard format, I do think Rapidstrike Urshifu is it. I've been saying it for a long time now. I knew it even before the deck list came out. I just think that low energy attackers like this, retreat cost of 2, 330 HP, having a good typing right now, I just think that it definitely was primed to be one of the most played decks when it released, and I think that it's kind of living up to that hype. But yeah, I mean, that's Norman Price, as seen on the Fireman Sam TV show on BBC. He got 8th in the tournament, so shout out to him. Next up, we have Pablo L. When he's from Chile, I believe. And he was playing Welder Mewtwo, like Victini VMAX Mewtwo, which is a deck list that actually was really successful for a short time now. People kind of realized, like, well, Welder Mewtwo's good, but Victini's also good. And instead of just running, like, Reshizard and maybe Cram and Heatran and those types of attackers in Victini, maybe we just run Welder Mewtwo and throw Victinis in it, and we kind of combine them together. That way, not only do we have multiple really great fire-type attackers in the list, but we also have really one of the best Psychic-type attackers, if not the best Psychic-type attacker in the game. And that's a very strong combo. Having Psychic and Fire-type attackers right now is phenomenally good. You can't hit for weakness on those Metal-type Pokemon, on those Grass-type Pokemon, as well as, of course, hitting for weakness on Urshifu, right, which is always going to be really good here. You'll notice, though, it's literally just a 3-3 Victini lineup thrown in Welder Mewtwo. Nothing else is too crazy here. No Aurora Energy version. It's just straight fire. We got 4 Welder, 4 Boss, 2 Marnie, 1 Research. That's a pretty standard supporter lineup for Victini VMAX decks. They typically do run a lot of Boss's orders, and I think that makes sense just because Victini does like to KO those VMAX Pokemon and likes to get damage off on those V and VX on VMAX Pokemon. So that's why they're probably running the 4 Boss's orders. It just makes a lot of sense overall. Yeah, not much else to say about this. I like the reset stamp. I like the 1 Air Balloon. I like the Giant Hearth, the 3 Giant Hearths. It's good. It's good. I don't know what else to say. It's a deck list that I personally haven't played a lot. I don't have a lot of experience with Mewtwo decks. They're just not something I typically play a whole lot. But Mewtwo has been extremely, extremely good right now in this format. And I think that it's just emerged again as one of the best decks in the format. If not even, I mean, Mewtwo decks might even be the best right now in the format. If Urshifu isn't, it's probably Mewtwo. But I do think that Victini is also very, very good. It just needs a little bit help right now before rotation, just because, of course, it does struggle with those GX tag team Pokemon, single price Pokemon. It just kind of struggles in those areas, which is where Mewtwo does excel. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I like the 1 Volcanion in the list as well. I just think that it's super cool. I think that this is a very unique deck list. It's funny to see all these different Pokemon in the list, but somehow it's pretty consistent, and a lot of these Pokemon you're probably just discarding anyway. So I like it. I like it a lot. I know Zaklasage was very high on U3 Victini. I'm surprised it hasn't been doing as good as it has recently. I just don't think it's like super high played, but I do think it's a very good list. Next up, we have Cap A3K. He's from Portugal. He got 6th in the tournament playing ADP. This was our highest placing ADP. One did squeak into top 8. We can see here it's just super standard ADP here. ADP hammers technically. So it's just literally ADP hammers. Nothing crazy about it. Nothing different, except we do have a Mawile and an Aegislash-V in here. That's it. Like, there's nothing, like, I don't know what to tell you. It's literally just ADP hammers with an Aegislash tech. Everything here is exactly what you would expect it to be. We even have 4 E-Switch, 2 Spinners, 1 Great Catcher, 4 Boss, 2 Air Balloon, like Rusted Sword. I mean, I guess the only difference here is that he's running 7 Metal instead of 8 Metal, and then 3 Water, so I don't know about that. I do like running 8 Metal and 3 Water. I think that that's, for the most part, been what people everywhere have decided is the best energy count when you're playing ADP, but this was our highest placing ADP. Maybe you don't need 8 Metal. Maybe you just need 7. I don't know. I really don't know. But interesting nonetheless. We do have 4 Metal Saucers, so maybe you don't need 8 Metal. But overall, pretty interesting. I know Gabe Smart, when he was playing ADP Hammers, was struggling to find his Metal energy, and he's running 8. So who knows? Definitely worth testing. This is actually the first time I've seen somebody cut a Metal energy from an ADP list. I've seen some people run 2 Water energies. I've seen people run 4 Water energies, but I've never seen anyone run 7 Metal. And it's interesting that this was the highest placing ADP of the tournament. So perhaps there's something there. Maybe ADP players should look into it. But overall, it's interesting. It's just a very interesting list. So you know what? Big shout out to Cap A3K for being our highest placing ADP in the tournament, getting 6th. You kind of love to see it. Next up, we have Superior 50-10, 5-0-1-0, 5th in the tournament. He was playing Peak. Now you'd be like, oh, okay. No Peak. We made it. Peak's gone. No, it's not. It actually got 5th in the tournament. It's going to be here around forever. Peak is actually better than what I think people give it credit for. I think that the Urshifu matchup isn't even that bad. I've heard people kind of thinking about running Stealthy Hood in Mewtwo, or in Pikarom actually, which is actually pretty interesting for sure, and could be actually a pretty viable option. But again, I don't really have too much else to say about this. It's literally just Pikarom. He's got the Mew thrown in there, which I think is actually pretty smart. Yeah, I mean, it's just Pikarom with a Mew, and I don't know what he cut. Maybe he cut a Research. Maybe he cut a Boss. Maybe he cut I don't know. Maybe he cut a Cherish Ball. I honestly forget what a Peak list typically looks like. I know people like to play 4 Bolton sometimes in Peak. I'm not a big component of it. I don't really think that it's like that needed to run 4 Bolton in Peak. I think 3 is perfectly fine. I think that the 2 Mewtwo, 2 Pikarom, 1 Choo-Choo is smart. I like the Eldegoss, Crobat, 2 Dedenne, Tapu Koko, and I think that the Mew is pretty necessary now as well in this format. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really. I'm here looking at a Pikarom list in late April of 2021, and I just don't know what I can really say about it that I haven't said previously in other videos. So yeah, I mean, this is Pikarom, guys. Enjoy it. Let me scroll down, sorry, so you guys can see the bottom of those numbers. Here it is. Absorb it. Put it into your mind. The link to find all these lists will be down in the description below, so if you actually just want to import these into PTCGO, you can go ahead and do that. Just follow the link down in the description. Anyway, this is Pikarom. It's here. It's still really good as well, and I think it's actually still probably one of the best techs in the format. Next up, we actually have an Eturn as well. I mean, there was one Eturn at 26th. Shout out to Skylon. One at 34th, Eddie Bulmer. But other than that, just one up here. It did squeeze into top 8, and that's Goopy Goop. 1, 2, 3 from the US. Goopy Goop, 4th. Let's take a look at his Eturn list. See if we can't find anything interesting about it. Not very interesting, to me at least. I mean, no shout out to Goopy. It's just Eturn. It's just an Eturn list. No disrespect. It's just Eturn here. Yeah. He's running 4 hammers. I do like the Phoebe in the list. I think if you're playing Eturn right now, you should run a Phoebe. It's the way you get over Luke Metal and Desi for the most part. And I do like the 3 weakness cards with 7 Dark Energy. You get Power Accelerator a little bit less consistently, but it is what it is. You kind of sacrifice that for the ability to hopefully still be able to beat Urshifu VMAX, but probably not anyway because you have 4 Crobats in your deck. But you know what? It is what it is. It's a pretty cool list. I like the 3 Veltal. 2 Stacey Goons, it's interesting. I think maybe just 4 Goons might be better. I don't know. That Hoopa is also pretty good in some scenarios, but I'm not super hot on the Hoopa either. Everything else in here is pretty standard. 1 Pal Pad as well. I think if you are running Phoebe in your list, you should run Pal Pad just so you can potentially use it twice, which a lot of times is going to be definitely the difference between you winning the Luke Metal matchup or not. So I like the Phoebe and the Pal Pad, but nowadays this Eturn list I think is super standard, and this is what people are kind of playing when they play Eturn. I think you have to get a little bit lucky still if you're playing Eturn right now to make it pretty high in some of these bigger tournaments. I do think that there's a big target on your back. Everyone's playing Urshifu. Some people are even playing single strike Urshifu. There's Luke Metal running around. So overall, it kind of seems like you're fighting an uphill battle when you play Eturn, but it's still extremely powerful. You still have a pretty good ADP matchup, especially with the 4 hammers. So I do think that Eturn is good. I think that it's a good list. I just don't think it's well positioned nearly as well as it was before when we didn't really have any answers for it. But yeah, here it is, Eturn VMAX. If you're looking to still play Eturn, this is probably what you should be running, in my opinion. This is probably the best way to play it, but you know, it is what it is. You guys can kind of figure that out for yourself. But either way, big shout out to Goop here. Goop's such a weird word. It's weird. It's just weird saying it. Third, we have Kant. So another stranger to Chill Series, great player. Familiar face in Chill Series events. He's from Japan, of course. Third in the tournament, 12-3-1, and he was playing Green's Reshi Zard. Now, this is a list we have not seen for a very long time to be that successful, but this list is actually hilarious when I take a look at it and I think about it more and more. We're running 4 Volcanions and 3 Reshi Zard, and that's it. That's literally it. No matter what, you're starting the game with one of those 2 Pokemon. If you go second, you're probably in a pretty good spot, to be honest with you. You can either just turn 1, double Blaze GX if you have the Welder, or you can Flare Starter, which is going to be good either way. And I think that Greens is of course, like I said, a really good consistency card. And we saw that Dragapult deck. We saw this Reshi Zard deck. It's just interesting to see just how impressive these green lists have actually been. Green's Reshi Zard is nothing new, though. That Green's Dragapult thing is that deck's a little bit more spicy. It's a little bit more modern. This Green's Reshi list is kind of a throwback, but still very, very good. 4 greens, 4 Wilder, 3 Boss. We even have a Cynthia Caitlyn and a Malalana in there with 3 tag calls to find our Reshiram and Charizards as well. 2 Quick Balls is it. That's all the Pokemon search we've got. And then we're running 4 Pokegears, which makes a whole lot of sense, I think, in this list for sure. 1 Tag Switch, which I actually find to be very interesting. As well, just a 1 of that, 1 of Great Catcher, 1 of E-Spinner, 1 of Fire Crystal, 1 of Great Potion, 1 of Lily's Pokédoll, 1 of Scoop Up Net, 1 of Tool Scrapper, and then 2 Big Charms. So a lot of 1-ofs in the deck, but of course this is green, so you can go ahead and just search those cards. You know what I mean? Like, you can just find them through your deck, so it makes a little bit more sense to just run these 1-ofs. I think the 1 Scoop Up Net and the Lily's Pokédoll is actually just interesting, even though you're running greens. And the Great Potion, it is what it is. I actually think that it can be clutch in a lot of scenarios with the Big Charms, kind of give your Reshi Zard a little bit more of a tanky build to it. Between the Great Potions, the 2 Big Charms, and the Heat Energies, your Reshi Zard is a tank, right? You're not only doing a lot of damage, but you're actually living pretty hardcore there, and I actually kind of like that as well. 2 Power Plants in the deck too, with just 1 Giant Hearth. So I mean, I don't know. This list is just really funny the more I look at it. I don't play Welder decks. That's not a deck list that I ever play. I do sometimes, but I'm just not a big fan of Welder. So looking at this list, it just I have literally no idea how this works out. I mean, I understand greens lists can be strangely consistent sometimes, but this might be the biggest shocker having this deck make 3rd in the tournament. I know Kant is a great player. I know Greens is good. I know Reshi Zard is still one of the best attackers in the game, but still, I mean, just to have this list make top 4 at the massive Chill Series number 27 tournament, it's just interesting for me. It's just a very, very, very interesting list to look at. So if you're looking to run some spice, if you're looking to run kind of like a different version of a Welder deck, that if you're like a Welder deck player, maybe this is something you can do. But overall, I don't know. It just makes me smile looking at this. But I like it. I like it for sure. You know what I mean? Whenever somebody does something cool and it places well with something different, I'm always happy about it. And it might be worth covering on the channel. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, let me know what you think of Green's Reshi Zard, guys. This list is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Next up, we have Rahul Reddy, who did make it to Grand Finals. Now, before you guys watch this, yes, the Grand Finals match is posted on the YouTube channel. I put it up yesterday. That video is almost at 3,000 views. You guys love watching the Grand Finals matches, and I really appreciate it. So if you're interested to see what the Grand Finals match, turned out to be, how that best of 3 set went, I definitely recommend that you go check it out. So there'll be like a little annotation to it, I think in the top right or whatever. I don't know where it is, but it was Rahul Reddy playing Rapidstrike Urshifu VMAX, and of course he was playing Clairiers here. If that's how you pronounce it, playing Psychic Mew 3, and it was a very interesting matchup. You might be like, oh, that's pretty bad for Rahul, but it actually went to a game 3. It was much closer than you think. I highly recommend you go check out the video. But shout out to Rahul, 2nd in the tournament, 13-4. Let's take a look at his Rapidstrike list, which is actually a little bit different than than other Rapidstrike lists that we've seen. So we're going to go ahead and just take a look at it. Oh, man. Don't forget to hydrate. Okay. So you'll notice here that he is running the very standard Pokemon lineup here, except he's running 3 Jirachis instead of 4. We do see that the Mimikyu is thrown in here. And I think that Mimikyu is really good. But unfortunately, he did hit a Stealthy Hood Mewtwo deck that made it to finals. So that Mewtwo deck definitely took extra precautions to, of course, maintain its good matchup against Rapidstrike Urshifu. But Rahul somehow countered the counter ahead of time, and I have no idea how, because he was running a Tool Scrapper as well as Karate Belt in his deck, so I just have no idea like how he even knew. But I do think Tool Scrapper is actually really, really cool. It's really, really clutch. I think that the Karate Belt is actually really smart. And Urshifu, there are a lot of times where you'd probably rather attach the Air Balloon just so you could get the double switch out, but the Karate Belt makes it so like you can G-Max Rapid Flow, discard all your energies, and then all you have to do is attach a Rapid Strike double energy to him, and you can Rapid Flow twice in a row, which is something that other Urshifu decks can't do, which is probably a really big distinct advantage. So I do like the Karate Belt a lot. 2 Martial Arts Dojo, again, you should be running Dojo and Urshifu. Everything else here, though, is pretty standard, and I don't have too much else to say about it. The main differences here are that he is probably running the Mimikyu, right? 1 less Jirachi, which I think is... I don't know. I don't really know if that's better or not. A lot of people say you should definitely run 4 Jirachis, but here we are. This is our highest placing Urshifu list, and he was running the 3 Jirachis. But I do think that the Tool Scrapper is actually going to be a lot better now that a lot of people are probably going to be running Stealthy Hood, especially in their Mewtwo lists, and I think that Karate Belt has a lot of potential as well. So if you're playing Rapidstrike Urshifu, I definitely think that you should check out Karate Belt and at least maybe just try it out. I think it could be extremely good. But yeah, this is Rahul's list, man. And this is it. It's in my opinion, this is a very cool Urshifu list, and our highest placing Urshifu list of the tournament. So, Rahul's a great player, don't get me wrong, but his list was extremely good as well, and I do think that it was a very good meta call. Unfortunately, couldn't take him all the way, but did take him to grand finals, and of course, one of the best runs that we've seen in a while. So yeah, I mean, shout out to Rahul. I mean, he's a great guy, great player. His stream was also pretty awesome. So. Yeah, check out the grand finals match if you haven't watched it already. And then lastly, we have Player Years here, who is playing Psychic Mewtwo. Now, I'm going to do it to you guys again. We're not going to take a look at his list. We're not going to do it. We're going to cover his list tomorrow in a separate video. So if you guys are interested to see what his list looked like, if you're interested to see sort of how that deck plays or whatnot, definitely just go watch the grand finals match. I might not even do any gameplay tomorrow. I'm going to be pretty busy, so I don't know if I'll be able to record a lot of gameplay with his deck, but we're going to showcase it and go in depth on his list a little bit longer and kind of give him his own separate video so he gets his own shine. Yeah, stay tuned for that video tomorrow. And if you don't want to wait till then, I suppose you can just follow the link below, click his list, go on the website, and go to this tournament page here to check it out yourself. But here's Player Years. I mean, he won the grand finals, won the championship, won Chill Series number 27, and his list was phenomenal. So I can't wait to cover that tomorrow. But guys, we're gonna end there. This is it. So, here it is. I don't know what else to tell you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Matty from Chill TCG. Shout out to everyone who played in Chill Series number 27. Shout out to everybody who made top 16, made the video. Congrats, guys. Thank you guys so much for playing. If you're watching this video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe, like the video. It means a lot to me. Potentially become a channel member by clicking join down below. It's only $1.99 a month. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to register for Chill Series number 28, which is actually the Yellhorn special. And that is actually coming... this coming Wednesday. It's actually like a special Yellhorn sponsored event. Me and Zach are kind of working together on the special Chill Series tournament. There's going to be 250 Battle Styles packs in the prize pool, as well as a gold quick ball, which will be given to first place, which is a really cool prize, right? It's worth a lot of packs, so really cool card to be given to the first place winner. I'm really excited for that. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. So we're going to get out of here, guys. Peace out. I've been Matty from Chill TCG. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for the video on Player Year's deck. And thanks for watching, guys. We're going to get out of here. Goodbye.